Now, I may have to do some explaining at home. Vinted had free shipping in the Netherlands from the beginning of the year, and then because apparently the universe decided I needed a problem, they extended it for 2 more months. Did I take advantage of that? Obviously I did. So, look, everyone really enjoys a good deal, and I may have leaned into that particular justification quite significantly or enthusiastically. So today we're gonna do a haul, and yes, I am going to tell you exactly how much I saved because that is basically the story that I'm telling myself, and I am sticking to it. Now, I did not realize going into this edit how many books I actually bought, and I know that Mr. Hoarding Wyrm is going to have some thoughts and opinions about this video. I will deal with it later. So let's get into it. So a couple of ladies from my book club have been reading Thomas Olde Heuvelt, and they've been very convincing in telling me that I absolutely needed to be reading his book. Apparently he is one of the best Dutch horror authors out there, and I believe them. So when I started spotting his books on Vinted, I jumped. First up, we have Hex, which is, I got it in the paperback edition. It retails for about €11.47 and I paid €5.95. Hex is about a small town that has lived for centuries under the watchful presence of a bound witch, and her sealed eyes are the only thing standing between the townspeople and something far, far worse. Until a group of teenagers decides that testing that specific boundary sounds like a great idea. Spoiler, it ain't. I also grabbed Oracle, which is book 2 in the same series, also in paperback. It retails for about €21.99 and I got it for €2.80 on Vinted. Yes, €2.80. Now in Oracle, a ghostly 18th century ship appears in the middle of a flower field and begins swallowing people whole. A reluctant occult specialist gets dragged into uncovering its secrets and discovers it's the harbinger of something ancient and apocalyptic, awakened from the deep. I mean, yes please. And those of you who know me will understand why this was a non-negotiable purchase. The Dragon Keeper by Robin Hobb retails for about €11.29 and I paid $4.74 for it. Now, I am a massive Robin Hobb fan. Her first three trilogies, I absolutely loved them. But I've never continued on into the Elden realm, and I've been meaning to correct that for a while now. The Dragon Keeper is book 1 of the Rainwild Chronicles, and it's a continuation of a specific region that I loved so much in the Life Ship Traders trilogy. A group of outcasts is tasked with shepherding a clutch of weakened, malformed dragons upriver towards a legendary city that may not even exist, on a journey that nobody expects them to survive. Now, knowing Robin Hobb, it's going to be devastating, and I will love every second of it. Then we have Delicate Condition by Danielle Valentine in the paperback version. Retails for about €16 and I got it on Vinted for $5.95. The blurb basically details that a woman fighting to get pregnant starts to suspect that someone or something is actively sabotaging her IVF journey, and the people around her refuse to believe her. And she is left completely alone to face the growing horror of what might actually be growing inside her. Now, I've seen reviews comparing this to Rosemary's Baby, which I absolutely loved, so I'm very curious about this one. Then we have All the Dead Lie Down by Kyrie McCauley, and this one I got in the Locked Library Special Edition. Retail for this one is about €36, which is an estimate because I'm not entirely sure what the retailing was for that specific book box at the time, but I got it on Vinted for $24.33, which I think is still a decent price. Now, what I love about the fact is that it does have sprayed edges, custom hardback cover, and the end pages are also with a beautiful motif. This one has actually already been on my TBR for quite some time because it's supposed to be extremely gothic. It's about a grieving woman who takes a nanny position at a remote coastal estate, and she finds herself drawn into the family's dark secrets as strange occurrences start escalating around her, and something dangerous begins closing in from the woods. It is supposed to be gothic romance, a haunting atmosphere, and like I said, it has been on my TBR for a while, so when I saw this special edition at that price, I genuinely could not walk away. Next up, we have Wilder Girls by Rory Power in the paperback version. It retails for about 15 euros, and I got it on Vinted for 3.85 euros. Now that is a good steal. And I'll be honest, this one has been on my TBR for a while purely based on the vibes. I mean, the cover, the premise, all of it. The story basically goes into a mysterious illness that begins transforming the bodies of girls quarantined on an island school. And one student breaks the fence line to find her missing best friend and uncovers a truth far darker than the disease itself. Now, doesn't that sound fascinating? Now this one I'm extremely pleased with because this is the Illumicrate special edition of The Witch King by Martha Wells. It retails for about 36.37 and I got it on Vinted for 13 euros and 14 cents. Again, retail price here is an estimate because of the fact that this comes from a book box. This book is actually from the same author that wrote the Murderbot Diaries, which if you haven't read it, it is a whole different conversation because they are funny. I've been going back and forth on this specific one for a while now because it showed up in the Illumicrate vault sales. Because for one, the end paper illustrations are gorgeous. And I'm an absolute sucker for a good quote in a book. Now the story follows a powerful mage who awakens after centuries of magical imprisonment and finds the world drastically changed. He starts pulling on threads to find answers, and naturally those answers are not going to be the things that he wants to know. And then we have the hardcover edition of Horrid by Katrina Leno. Which at the moment actually surprisingly retails for about 13 euros and 6 cents, but I got it on Vinted for 5 euros and 95 cents. Now, full transparency, this cover got me first. The botanical horror aesthetic is stunning, and I was pulled immediately. But the blurb actually is genuinely intriguing too. It's about a grieving teenager who moves into her mother's eerie childhood home in Maine, only to discover that the locked room her mother refuses to talk about holds secrets far darker than family grief alone. And themes of mental illness, rage, grief, they're all there, all tangled up with something spine-chilling. Again, bought it for the cover, stayed for the premise. I really don't regret it though. Then we have the paperback edition of Our Wicked Histories by Amy Goldsmith. Retails for about 16 euros and 95 cents, and I got it on Vinted for 2 euros and 80 cents. Now, this is another case of pretty cover syndrome, but the blurb also really caught me. It's about a young woman who accepts an invitation to a wealthy family's remote Irish estate, hoping to reclaim her place at an art school. And she ends up trapped in a house drowning in dark secrets and a lake with something far worse lurking beneath the surface. Now, I love a plot that's built on buried guilt and the price of seeking redemption. This book is supposed to be mysterious, secretive, and hopefully full of drama and shocking moments. Yes, I am here for it. Then we have the paperback edition of Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. Retails for about 11 euros and 29 cents, and I got it on Vinted for 5 euros and 95 cents. This is a collection of Argentinian Gothic stories where dark folklore, political trauma, and female rage collide, and women pushed to their absolute limits by a plague of violence find that the only way out is through fire. Now, I already have Our Share of Night from the same author, which, yes, I also still need to read. But at this point, I've fully made peace with my shelves being a carefully curated collection of stories I can pick up whenever the time is right. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. Then we have The Sad Ghost Club by Lize Meddings, I hope I say that right, in the paperback edition, and it retails for $17.45. I got it on Vinted for $5.95. Now, this was a direct recommendation from my best friend, Tibi Reiza, who read it a few months ago and told me it was one of the most wholesome and unexpectedly deep graphic novels she'd come across in a while. The story itself is about a chance encounter between two anxious outsiders at a party that leads to the creation of a secret society for everyone who has ever felt invisible or alone or like they simply don't belong. Now, I am fully prepared to have my heart broken in the best possible way. Then we have the hardcover edition of Youthjuice by E.K. Sathue, which retails for about €27.38, and I got it on Vinted for $5.95. Now, I recently listened to Cruelty Free by Caroline Glenn, which also plays with the horror potential of the beauty industry, and I found the combination genuinely so compelling that I immediately wanted more of it. And this felt like the obvious next step, because a directionless woman finds purpose and obsession in a luxury wellness company until she discovers the grotesque secret behind its star product, and then basically has to decide how far she is willing to go to keep it. Then we have the paperback edition of Scuttlers Cove by David Barnett, which retails for about €15.99, and I got it on Vinted for $5.95. I recently read The Arc for Scratch Moss by the same author, which exists in the same universe as this one. While both can be read as standalones, the author has actually confirmed that there will be a new book that brings together the storylines from Scuttlers Cove, Scratch Moss, and Withered Hill, the author's first published book. So I have some reading to do before that comes out, and I'm planning to do a buddy read with this with one of my wonderful Instagram friends, always adding books, which I'm very excited about. Now, as for the story, a woman returns to her Cornish coastal hometown after her mother's death, only to find that the arrival of wealthy outsiders has disturbed something ancient and terrible lurking beneath the village, something the locals have been trying to keep buried for generations. It is folk horror inspired by the sea, and I am very, very curious. Now, I am so excited about this one. The hardback edition of Tusk Love by Thea Guanzon. It retails for about $33.99, and I got it on Vinted for €11.20. Look, I'm a nerd. I play Dungeons and Dragons. I have multiple dice sets, and I've watched Critical Role. So when this book came out, I knew I had to read it. But it sold out for a while, and I was so sad about it. So snagging this copy at that price felt like a win. Why, you may ask? Well, specifically because of a few reasons. It has, first and foremost, it has beautiful little end papers. But what I'm really excited about is the reason why I wanted a hardcover copy is because of the fact that it has a reversible dust cover, which has all these beautiful little illustrations. So yeah, that's why I wanted to have the hardcover. Now, as for the story, it is about a merchant's daughter with dreams of freedom and a half-orc with nowhere left to belong. They're thrown together on a dangerous road and discover that the most treacherous path ahead isn't the one beneath their feet. I am ready to be swooned. I am ready to be swept off my feet and start giggling like an absolute fool. Bring it on. Next up is the paperback edition of The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. Retails for about €9.49, and I got it on Vinted for €4. I read my first T. Kingfisher last year, Nettle and Bone, and I absolutely adored it. It was funny, it was emotional, reflective, with this wonderful magical quality to it. And my entire Bookstagram community has been telling me I need to get my hands on The Hollow Places. which is about a young woman who discovers a strange portal hidden in her uncle's house, and what lies beyond it is nothing short of madness and terror, which sounds exactly like what I want to get lost in. Now I'm also really excited about this one. It is the Fairyloot special edition of The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. Retails for about $37.70-ish, and I got it on Vinted for €16.45. And I'll be honest, I already have the regular hardback edition of this. I read it at the beginning of last year and I fell completely in love with it. It is a lush, poetic, dual POV story that spirals beautifully towards its conclusion, weaving fairy tales and shifting timelines to explore class, trauma, and the extraordinary complexity of female relationships. The ending felt slightly rushed, but honestly, it did nothing to diminish the magic of the book. Do you need multiple editions of the same book? No. Does it make me unreasonably happy sometimes? Yes, it does, especially when it has these beautiful spreads and also these absolutely beautiful end papers. And also, look at that naked hardcover. I have no comments, thoughts, whatever to add to this. Next up, we have the paperback edition of The Girl from the Well by Rin Chupeco. Retails for about €16.14 and I got it on Vinted for $5.95. Now, I picked this one up for two reasons. One, the cover and the title immediately reminded me of Ring by Koji Suzuki, and I took that as a sign. And the reason number two is I read The Bone Witch from the same author and I absolutely loved it. This one is supposed to be about vengeful spirits, creepy atmosphere, and Japanese-inspired horror. And yes, absolutely yes, I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Then we have the Dutch version of The Strain, which is called The Meester by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan. It retails for about €19, but I got it on Vinted for $1.75. I read the novelization of Pan's Labyrinth last year and I was completely captivated by it. So I decided that I wanted to read more books that Guillermo del Toro had worked on. And The Strain reimages vampirism as a virus, which sounds like an absolutely fascinating concept. But I'll be honest with you, I'm slightly nervous for this one because most of the reviews I've seen have been not overly glowing, but for €1.75 I'm willing to find out for myself. Then we have A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock in the paperback version. It retails for about €15.96 and I got it on Vinted for €5.95. Now, this cover alone is enough to stop you mid-scroll, and it screams botanical horror in the best way. But then you add Frankenstein-style experiments into the mix, and honestly, I was never not gonna buy this. I need it on my shelf and in my hands immediately. I read The Vegetarian in 2025 and I'm so happy that I now got the paperback version. Retails for about $16.67 and I got it on Vinted for €8.05. When I read The Vegetarian, it was emotionally brutal, deeply disorienting and intentionally uncomfortable in a way that forced a kind of unwanted introspection I was not prepared for. It is a powerful, devastating read, and the kind that leaves you confused and broken long after you've turned the last page. Multiple points of view, each more unsettling than the last, and obviously I needed a physical copy of it. That's just how it works. Breathe In, Bleed Out by Brian McAuley. In the paperback edition, it retails for about $15.99 and I got it on Vinted for €5.95. I spotted the ARC for this one on NetGalley last year, and I was unfortunately too late requesting it, which still stings a little bit. But I've seen so many wonderful reviews from my Bookstagram community that it stayed firmly on my radar. It promises to be Midsummer meets Scream, basically a slasher horror set against a spiritual retreat full of dark secrets and terrible decisions, and I'm absolutely here for the chaos. So, the grand total: 21 books with an original retail value of €415.45. But what I actually paid was €152.61. Mr. Hoarding Wyrm is really gonna have some questions about this video, I am sure of it. But look, beyond the savings, there's something genuinely lovely about buying secondhand books, right? We're giving the stories a second life, it is sustainable, and that is the real argument, and I stand by it completely, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I just love books and want to fill up my shelves. Now, what books have you picked up recently, and did you get any of them at a steal? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. As always, happy reading everyone, and I'll see you next time.